Here's the question. Is it slavery simply disguised, being told to us that it's equality? Because if the mother dies, can the man get the same benefits? This is OTR, Ogre, and Corgi. Like, link, and subscribe. Comedy So Choose. Let's get into it. This is definitely a MGTOW moment. Look, I don't really got nothing against nobody on this, but it just occurred to me, like, when's the last time you saw a guy that if, significant other died for some reason, that he was able to get on welfare and just sit around watching TV, changing some diapers and shit, basically being a house man? How often is it you see the man getting those benefits? We always see women somewhere in every city across this nation of America. You will see women getting those benefits. And in certain communities, you see it so normally that it's not even a thought of. The only way a man seems to be able to get any benefits is if he's disabled, if he fakes crazy, or, workplace accident, or, veteran of a war. So you have to be a disabled man to get any benefits, and it's next to nothing, by the way. Because I know a lot of guys that have faked crazy, and it's like, what, $1,000 a month? Like, tops, $800 to $1,000 a month. That is not a lot of money to live off of. That is like below poverty. That's like sickly below poverty. So you have to rethink your entire way of living. So then you have the situation where a woman literally gets an apartment that would normally cost, $800 to $1,000 a month, utilities paid, internet, all this shit. So we have no problem giving it. And they're like, well, that's because the women got to take care of the kids. Wait a minute. So we're being told as we're kids growing up about equality and women can do anything a man can do, but apparently paying the bills on her own is a fucking bridge too far. We're okay with telling a man who can't afford to pay rent because his child support is too high, loses his good job, and then has to take whatever job and is living out of his fucking car. Hopefully you got a van, brother. A van and a gym membership. We're okay with alienating that man from his children. So we're to the point where his children think that, the new guy that the woman's sneaking in, that's now daddy. We have no problem treating a man like he's a fucking slave. It's below second-class citizen. You're like a third-class citizen. Because notice how a woman can get all these benefits, and a woman from another country can walk in. So a non-citizen can walk into your country, have a child, and be treated better than a man from your country. You are a third-class citizen. You were treated like a slave. And then you have the nerve to wonder why and speak, why aren't people making families? Why is there a decline in the birth rate? Maybe it's because you've put all the responsibility on a man, but you give him no authority over his own family. Yeah, it's a damnedest thing. Over the course of time, men have started to wake up to the fact that they're treated like fucking slaves. If you don't own up and, pay out your so-called fair share as a man, you get thrown in prison. If you do nothing as a woman, you get a free fucking ride. And you have the nerve to say, why aren't these men having children? So let's take this to the next level. What is the manipulation for this? Are we simply just by what you can observe in society, seeing that women are not equal to men? Because if women were equal to men, let's say there was a situation where there's a breakup and a divorce. Well, let's say the man actually has a better family structure network to where his grandparents, parents, aunts, and uncles can help take care of this child while he's at work. Yeah, and so the kids go off to school. So how many years do those kids really have to be at home? How many years does this woman truly need these welfare benefits? And the answer is she doesn't really need them that long. In all truth, the man is probably better suited to raise these kids. Which means the woman would be freed up to be also sort of equal, so which means she needs to get a job. She needs to be equal to a man and pay her own bills. Needs to do all this shit. But we know a lot of women are not going to own up. And a lot of women would rather pump out babies like an assembly line to avoid actually having to go out and fucking be as responsible as a man. That's why it's funny to me when you see these women acting all strong and empowered when they're past raising children. I'm a kick-ass woman. Yeah, but for the last 40 years, you've basically been living off someone else's work. 40, 50 years. You'll see these women when they're finally 50. They're finally getting really into the workforce. And yet, once that man was like 16 to 18, he's expected to go out and start doing something, providing something. GDP is reliant off him. If women sit down and don't do something for a day, whatever. If men sit down for a few days and decide to stop everything, like the fuel doesn't show up, the food doesn't show up, the mines the fucking factories, the foundries, all these things. If men stop doing what they're doing, the world shudders at the consequences. Because this entire system is based off the pain, blood, sweat, and death of men. And that's why you see more men going their own way. Whether they're going their own way officially, or they're not signing up for the so-called traditionalism deal, where a lot of people talk about how great it is. Oh man, so good. But then once you're in it, you see your buddies, your friends, your fathers, your uncles. You see how they were treated by the same system that's trying to convince you. Like a drug dealer. Oh yeah, the fix is so good. And then once you're stuck in it, then it's living a junk sickness life. Yeah. There's a reason I never bothered to have kids. It's not that I don't... Like, kids are okay. I think they're cool. They have their issues, but they're cool. It's cool being an uncle. God knows I'm not giving some motherfucker, and not only that, the state, power over me to direct my entire life. And yet they have the nerve to tell me this is equality. This is OTR Ogre and Corgi. Like, link, and subscribe. You have a good one.